Yeah, good afternoon, participants. Welcome back to day 3 afternoon session by Mr. P. Rajkumar sir. Sir is going to explain about how to install Node-RED, installation of Node-RED, and hands-on programs uh, you can have in this afternoon session. Okay, with this, I welcome once again Mr. P. Rajkumar sir. Sir, are you there, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
sir. Okay. So please take over the session, sir. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Sir, is the screen visible, sir? Can anyone confirm?
Yes, sir. Yes, it's visible,
Okay,
sir.
thank you. Thank
Go
you.
ahead, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the morning session, Sir has given a lecture on installing Node-RED, uh, every historical things about the Node-RED and what are the nodes available in a Node-RED and so on. So here, the main intention of IBM for designing this Node-RED is from the concept of IoT only, but later it was shifted for general purpose also. You can also develop general applications using this Node-RED. So this Node-RED has one advantage that we can go for rapid application development. So that is the main motto behind this Node-RED. Now that is one case. Now we are going to install Node-RED on Raspberry Pi, and we'll be using this and we'll develop 1 or 3 applications using Node-RED, and we'll try to execute on the Raspberry Pi device, and I will show the demonstration. So here, before going to that, if we need to see what is the installation files directories available in order to execute this Node-RED. So here, the first and foremost thing is you have to update the Raspbian operating system before going into any installation. So the packages which are already installed on the system will be get updated, and later we had to install this Node-RED on the Raspberry Pi. Here this installation of Node-RED has 3 important components. They are Node.js, one is NPM, and this NPM stands for Node Package Manager, and this is the very crucial component for this entire Node-RED. So in the future, once you have installed Node-RED, if you want to update if you want to update or upgrade to a new version, you are required to use this npm command only. And the third one is the Node-RED itself. So these 3 combinedly, they will be working behind the scenes. Only Node-RED will be visible to us, whereas Node.js and npm will be in the background. Node-RED will be on the foreground onto the Raspberry Pi. So here, first and foremost thing is that go to the terminal. In the terminal, type this command bash. See, here I am showing. 1 second. Yeah. So this bash command. Bash is nothing but a Bash is a shell or a shell is used for manipulating files or directories, and it is a default login shell for most Linux distributions. As you all know that Raspberry Pi is also evolved from Linux distribution, but its purpose is for Raspberry Pi. So like how Android is also evolved from Linux operating system only, but it is a mobile-based operating system. Similarly, this Raspbian operating system. So here, this is the URL. Here we are going to use one command called as the curl command, and it is a command line tool because we are executing on the command prompt tool, that is terminal. So we need to use this curl command if it is a command based. Otherwise, two ways we can do it. One is you have to download the entire dump from the particular Node-RED site and manually install it. Whereas this command automatically it will downloads as well as it installs. So in a single command, all the three things, that is Node.js, npm, as well as Node-RED will be installed onto the Raspberry Pi system. So here it follows a sequence. First, the Node.js will be installed, later npm, next Node-RED. If anybody tries to manually install Node-RED without a Node.js and npm, it is not going to work. This is a little bit complex task if you go for manual installation. So what I prefer is better to use this command so that all the three things will be downloaded and installed sequentially without any hurdles. So one more thing is this curl uh, is a command line to transfer data to and from server by using other protocols like the HTTP. Here we are using HTTPS, secure layer, / that is the URL of raw GitHub user content.com, followed by folder Node-RED. In that Linux installers, in that we have a master subfolder, in that we have dep subfolder, next update, Node.js and Node-RED. So this, what is this update, you can think? Update means suppose I already installed some old version. If I rerun this command, what will happen is the new version will be installed. Previous one be removed and the new version will be installed. That is the advantage of this particular entire command line. Now, so here you can see what this script is going to do. It removes the existing version of the Node-RED if already present, and if Node.js is already installed, just whatever I said, that same things are there, and it installed the latest version of the Node-RED using npm. So this one is very important. Node-RED new version will be installed by executing the npm command. Directly we cannot run Node-RED. We have to use a combination commands like npm space Node-RED, like that. Then it will go for new versions. Optionally, you can install a collection of useful Pi specific nodes. In the morning session, what I noticed is Sara has not used any Raspberry Pi related nodes. He has used general purpose nodes. So in our context, what we do is we'll try to install this Pi specific nodes, means Raspberry Pi specific nodes. So without Raspberry Pi specific nodes, we cannot program the Raspberry Pi. So that is the difference between general purpose Node-RED and specific purpose for Raspberry Pi. So here, this is the same command which I have seen now. So here also you can see already it has been packaged for Raspberry Pi operating system. So when you install Raspberry Pi on the device, operating system on your device, it has some already, it will have some repositories. Sometimes we may not get it because during the downloading time and installation time, what we do is we will give the rights to the operating system itself to install. That is, we give the rights to the installer itself, automatically install everything like that. Sometimes what it will do is it will ignore installing this Node-RED operating system, Node-RED system onto the Raspberry Pi. This is one problem. So here, if you want to install Raspberry Pi, you can use this sudo apt-get install Node-RED automatically. This command also will wait. Okay. So I'm highlighting that. Like this also you can install apt-get install Node-RED. But here you require super user credentials. So we have to use sudo space apt-get install Node-RED. So everything will be installed. Whichever repository, if the repository is found in the current Raspberry Pi system. So one more thing is, but it does not include NPM. Yes. You have to install npm also. As I said, without npm you cannot install Node-RED. Node-RED will be downloaded ready for execution, but using npm only you can install this Node-RED. Npm space Node-RED automatically. You have to use hyphen in between node and red. Npm node space node hyphen red. Then entire Node-RED will be installed like that. So what I'm saying is some possibilities. If it is found, it's no problem. Otherwise, we need to install. Many ways are there. So one is the curl command, which I said earlier in the previous slide. Another one is if it is in the local system, you can use this sudo apt-get install. First thing is you have to install the npm. Later you have to install the Node-RED. Otherwise, the Node-RED will not be found. It cannot be installed by itself. It's not an executable file. Some dependencies are there with the npm. So that is one case. Now, so once you have installed Node-RED, the next thing is you can run it locally. SAR has shown you in the morning session that Node-RED has been installed on a laptop. If it is connected to the local area network, you can execute in two ways. That is, one is through uh, localhost colon followed by its port number. Another one is if you specify the IP address on which this Raspberry is running. In that way also you can connect, and it can be used from other devices also. Right now, we assume that it is a standalone system and we are going to run it locally. So now I will go to the demonstration purpose. Once I will show the Node-RED on Raspberry Pi and we'll again come back to the presentation. So here, please, due to insufficient time, I'm already reloaded with the Node-RED. One more thing is, if I start installing Node-RED, it will consume almost half an hour to 40 minutes. So in order to save the time, I already pre-installed on the Raspberry Pi. Now I'm going to start that Node-RED simply by giving the command node-red. Hope it is visible. simply node-red is the command to start the Node-RED. So the Node-RED is actually I'm using a very uh, previous old version. As you know that my Raspberry is Raspberry Pi 3. It is a 3 years old now. Actually, if you use Raspberry 5 core, you can install the latest software. Actually, the version will be almost 20 now. I tried on my Raspberry Pi, but the device is not supporting. So that is the problem with that one. So here you can see on the terminal last line, you can see that is uh, our server is now running at HTTP last line, HTTP 127.0.0.1 colon 1880. So 127.0.0.1 is nothing but a local host, local IP address of your system, followed by the port number. So this application will be listening on this port number called as 1880. You know that there are 50,000 port numbers will be available. So we are assigning, it is it already assigned 1880. If you want to change it, we need to go so many ways. And the command prompt here to change so many items, and you can change to some other port number. If suppose 1880 is already used by any other process, then you need to rechange it. As of now, I'm not touching anything. Simply as usual, as it is, I am going to execute now. So here we had to use the browser of the Raspberry Pi. So you can see some Google browser, but it is my Windows desktop browser. I should not use that Windows desktop browser. Instead, what I have to do is I have to execute the browser, that is suppose Chromium web browser. Already it is there, so I'm using that Chromium web browser. Yes. Yes. In the URL, you can type 127.0.0.1 colon followed by 1880. Press enter. Now, Node-RED flows will be slowly, they will be installed onto the user interface. So these are some of the Node-RED. At left side, you can see the flows. So this is the user interface which you can see once you execute this Node-RED command. You can see the output like this. Now coming back to the program. So if you want to close it, you can close it automatically. So by simply by typing Control C on the terminal, open the terminal, and if you want to stop Node-RED, simply type the command Control C. So it is an abnormal termination of the Node-RED execution. So now we are going for. So here, as I said, we have limited memory on the Raspberry Pi. So when you start Node-RED, it requires a lot of space for underlying Node.js, etc. So many internal processes, child processes will be executing. So if it becomes a problem, what we have to do is we have to remove the unused space. So you can type this command node-red py hyphen max hyphen old hyphen space size is equal to 256, so that the space will be all the unused memory will be available to the node-red, so execution will be a little bit faster. One more thing is it necessary to run this command every time opening a terminal, typing the node-red, press enter like this? So you can automate this service during boot up process only. You can restart that node-red, and if you want to forcefully start that node-red, you can also do it. So but the thing is, it will be keep on running in the background. Though you use it or not, it will be running in the background. So the processor speed will be little bit decreased due to this background process. So you can do it like this. These are the commands which are used to work with the service. One is node-red start. This starts the node-red service and displays its log output. That means it will show the status of the execution of this node-red on the Raspberry Pi. So that is called as the log output. And but the problem when you make this as a automatic service at the boot time, but you cannot forcibly stop using Control C. It is highly impossible because it will not be in our control. One second. Okay. So instead of using Control C, you should use this node -red -start. Then you can stop the execution. Another one is if you want to stop that, you have to type this command. This stops the node-red service. Hereafter, we call it as a service. Instead of a process, we call it as a service. And again, after some time, if you change your mind and if you want to restart this node-red, simply type node-red -start, restart. Then automatically it restarts the node-red service. And if you want to see what is happening in the background, then you can use this command node-red -log. So all the log output of this service will be displayed. And one more thing is we have a node-red in the uh, menu. I will show you that desktop menu also is there, run menu. And from there also you can start this node-red. But the thing is, it should be start at the boot time only. That means you have to automate this service. Then only you can open it through the menu option. Excuse. Otherwise, we cannot run this one. So the same thing. So in order to auto start on boot time, last command you can see at the command prompt in the terminal, type this sudo super user credentials you require. So sudo, this is the command system control disable node-red dot service. So another one will be enable or disable. Like this, you have to use the command. And for enabling, you have to use this previous command sudo system control enable node-red dot service. So simply the word enable and disable will uh, work according to the phrase you use, enable or disable. If you want to enable, simply the first one, and if you want to disable, use this last one. So first time users will be facing some problems. That's why I'm going in a detail. So just now I have shown you that once the Node-RED is running, it will display the IP address as well as the port number. That means everything is going well. Then we can open the browser simply by typing. Just now we have seen localhost :8080 or IP address 127.0.0.1 :1880. Like that you can execute. Here one more example, last one. And if a group of people want to access the same node, right, then instead of local host, you have to specify the IP address. For example, there are two Raspberry Pis or three Raspberry Pis are in a local area network. So you have to mention the IP address of this host name. Replace IP address with the host name like this. Whatever IP address is designated to that particular Raspberry Pi, that you have to mention. For example, 198.168. Something like that. Already, as I said, when you install the Raspbian operating system onto the Raspberry Pi, we have to note down the IP address of the Raspberry Pi. That will be a fixed one. You cannot change it. And whenever you want to use, you have to use the same IP address for this Raspberry Pi. Or if you want to find the IP address, simply you type the hostname -L on the Pi, and you can see the IP address. We'll come back to the presentation. I will open one more terminal. Host name. See. Now, this being a local IP address of the system, like this, it will be showing the IP address 127.0.1.1. Okay. Now, we are going to introduce the how to create a flow. We'll demonstrate some nodes like the inject node, debug node, and function nodes. Already, Sarah has completed these three nodes in the morning session, but with context to Raspberry Pi, we'll be seeing some of the flows like this. So here, first thing is we have to access the editor. Once you run this, when you type Node-RED in the terminal, it takes up a few minutes to come up. Once the system is ready, you can open the local browser of the Raspberry Pi and start typing the IP address localhost :8080. Then it will take you to the Node-RED editor. So in the Node-RED editor, slowly on the palette, you can see so many different kinds of what you call as nodes. So they have grouped according to their functionalities. In the morning session also sir told, but I will also show you. So here only few of the nodes will be using, not each and every node. So I will describe the purpose of each of the node. So here you can see the nodes related to Raspberry Pi. So when you install Raspberry Pi on, Node-RED on your Raspberry Pi, automatically all Raspberry Pi related important nodes will be automatically installed on the Node-RED of the Raspberry Pi. So if you install the same thing on desktop or something, this particular specific Raspberry Pi nodes will not be installed. If you want to install that, then you have to download them and you have to install them on the local system using npm command also. So here we can see so many types of grouped node REDs. One is the basic things is the input and output. So here we are going to use this inject node. So simply if you move the mouse pointer on that, you can see uh, all the related, you'll get some information about that node, what is the purpose of that node and how it is going to work. So here this injects a message into a flow either manually or regular intervals. So you can do it in two ways. Whenever you click on it, once it flow starts, you can use this inject, which automatically injects a command to the next node at regular intervals, maybe 10 seconds, 1 second, 1000 seconds, or so on. So, and here message payload can be any type like strings or objects or the current time like that. So first we'll see with only strings. So here, so whenever you drag and drop any node onto the workspace, so here in the middle you can see the workspace. This is called as the workspace. So if you add this node and hit inject node, if you double click on it, you can see some information. You can edit this particular node using the properties tab. So here I've given one string because, as I said, this payload can take any values like this. One is global string number, boolean, that means true or false, or some JSON code, JavaScript object notation, or some related to buffer, or simply like some timestamp or environmental variables. So here, once you select global means this particular inject node will be available globally to the all the nodes which are using in this particular workspace. So what I am doing is I'm first time I'm using this string as the uh, payload type. Here I am typing some hello world, I injected you, or some other words. Welcome to my first Node-RED demo. Something have given like this. And here, if you select this one, it will automatically, it will be keep on injecting according to the time you specify. So, but when we click on this inject button, within a fraction of second, 1/10th of a second, it will pump this string which I have written in the payload to the next node. So here you can give some name. For example, here I am giving some name. This is nothing but the label to the node. Now I made some modification to the node. If I don't you finally you have to select this, click on this done button. But here, simply by pressing the done button is not over. Next thing is you have to select this deploy also. So what this deploy will do is it will deploy onto the, that means it will update the node which I have modified onto the node, right? And hereafter you will get the updated node only like this. So finally it will ask you to confirm. So here the label has changed. Beginning it was inject, now it has changed to press. And you can see some debug. Nothing but output window. At the right side you can see, hello world, I injected, welcome to my first node, Node-RED demo, first Node-RED demo. So here the output of the this press node will become the input of the message payload. Excuse me. So here in message payload, there are some options like debug window. Where should this the payload which has brought from this previous node, where it has to be displayed. So what you are going to do with the this payload which has come from previous node. So here we have some options like debug window. Debug means the output window you can see, and I have used system console also. That means you can see the output here also. On the terminal you can see this one. Hello world, I injected. Welcome to my first Node-RED demo. So you can see this. This is called as the log file. So when you are running Node-RED, in the background, excuse me, in the background, all the log file will be displaying like this. That means it will display the status of each node like that, or the entire flow. Next. Now, next one we'll see. Here, this time what I am doing is, I'm going to use the storage group button. Oh, where is the storage? Yeah. So this is nothing but inject node. Here I named as hello world. So this time I'm going to change some content. Welcome to Vagdevi College of Engineering, FDP, Atal FDP. So this is the string which I am going to inject to the next node. Here, and I'm giving the name also. If you want, you can give some name. The file or store in a file, something like that. So the label of this inject node has changed, store in file. Suppose if I click on this, the string which I have written, welcome to Vagdevi College of Engineering, Atal FDP, that string will be sent to more than one node now. Previously we have seen message.payload, only output screen, but this time what it is going to do is, it is going to write to a file. Here, see, I'm having two desktops. One is Windows desktop, another one is Raspberry Pi desktop. So I have selected Raspberry Pi desktop. This is the URL or path of the file where it is going to be stored. So here I'm going to change the name of the file name. So Node-RED FDP Node-RED. Node-RED. And here I'm changing some properties of this particular node action. Every time I send some text from the inject node, that will be overwritten. We have some options. You can append them to the existing file. You can override the file, or you can delete the file. So many things are there. So I have chosen overwrite. So every time I send a new topic, that new string will be stored in that file. Previous will be removed. So if I have more than one, I can add new lines to each payload. That means when you use append, this will not work for override, because every time new content will be written onto the file like that. So suppose if I have not created this Atal FTP node-red.txt, then it will create a file if that file does not exist on the desktop in the given path. And encoding is default UTF-8, something like that. So here if you give any content, it will display as a label to that particular node. By default, what will happen is whatever file name he has given, the same thing will be on the this one. One second. Okay. Now I have node-red.txt done. So simply by pressing the done itself, the node-red nodes will not be updated on the workspace. So you need to deploy it. It takes few seconds. So here you can see there is no file on this system desktop. Now once I write this, execute this program now. So simply I have clicking this first node, inject node. So it is going to inject. So you can see the output on the right side debug window. Hi, hello world, welcome to Vagdevi College of Engineering Atal FTP. So like that, this is the message payload which you have seen. Now, next thing is it has to create a file called as Atal FTP Node-RED. So here you can see, previously it is not there. The same content with the same file name has been created. So why I'm demonstrating this example is this plays a very important role in the Node-RED. Why? Because as well as in Raspberry Pi. So now I'm using just some kind of strings, but in later stages, maybe in the future, anybody can use this file system to store whatever the data is coming from the sensors. So you can attach sensors, that data also you can store in a local file system like this. That's why I'm demonstrating this example. Now coming back to so here we have used two nodes. One is inject node, another one is debug node, and another one is find node. I will show you that find node. And we have used this debug node also. The fifth step is you have to deploy whatever it is there. You have to deploy it. So So in the storage menu, you can see so here you can see the for storage purpose you can use these things. Uh, this is from the file, the contents will be read and you can store or you can display on the debug window. If you use this first one, uh, read the contents of a file either as a string or a binary buffer. So that is an optional one, binary buffer, or you can directly read as a string like that. Next one is tail. So this is available only for Linux and Macintosh operating system. This will not work on other environments. So here, third one I have used. So writes a message payload to a file, either adding to the end or replacing the existing content. Just now I have shown you, replace the string with the new string, or you can append it to the last line, or you can delete the file. Whatever you want, you can do it using the third one. I have chosen for replacing the previous content and write the new content like that. So here this file system plays very important role because as I said, sensors brings the data to say for particular node. From that node, it can be stored in a local file system like that. You can create a file system and you can store it. For example, temperature data is coming. That can be stored in the local file system. But even though what will happen is maybe after 10 days or 20 days, uh, for learning purpose, it works very well. But when you go for industrial purpose or something, your Raspberry Pi will not support local file system. In yesterday's class, we have seen this session we have seen this cloud storage. Unfortunately, it is not working yesterday. Today, if possible, I will show the demonstration. I have rectified that problem yesterday night. If we have the time, I will demonstrate it today. So this is all about the local file system, how to store the data. In one example, we'll see. It's in the Python files. Small demonstration on LED. So this is the setup of this experiment. I've used two LEDs followed by two terminals. One is plus terminal. That means some power supply will be coming from one of the GPIO node. I will show you in the program which particular pin has been engaged for power supply. Another one is negative charge. Usually call it as ground. Okay, and these are the two LEDs. for bright demonstration purpose, I am using two LEDs. Next thing is, so this is the layout of the pins. Here I'm engaging pin 18 in the program, maybe. Okay. Yes, 18th pin number is being used and it is engaged for this LED. And the another one can be ground. You can use so many ground options are available. Say for example, in the layout, right side you can see third one as a ground, and left side you can see fifth one as a ground, and so on like that. GND stands for ground. That is, it is a negative charge. So every device, even ordinary domestic electric bulb also will be having two terminals, isn't it? One will be plus, another one will be minus. So same way we have to use one for this particular GPIO pin, which will be positive charge. Another one will be negative charge. Now running that program. Python led.py. So that LED will be glowing for more than 10 seconds. That is the given program. So as per the program, it will be executing. So you can see one more application. Every second it is switching on and off. So I have written the program as a delay. You can see cat led1.py. So here you can see I'm engaging in the infinite loop. The remaining code is written. So time dot sleep, every second it will wait for 1 second like that. Switching on, and after switch off also it will stop for 1 second and it will display this off message, and the other one will be on message like that. So here GPIO dot high means the LED will be turned on. GPIO dot low means it will stop. That means it will be turned off like that. So these are the two parameters we pass into this method called as output method. GPIO is a predefined module. In that we have this method called as output method. So and we are using this layout GPIO.BCM. So here the pin number will be used as the for engaging this any devices. It may be sensors or it may be LEDs like that. So here every entire code will be always should be in try catch block like that. So that means if unexpected errors at runtime may happen, but the same resources will be held by the process. So in order to use that, what we are doing is we are using one function called as gpio.cleanup. In the last line, you can see gpio.cleanup. Otherwise, if you abnormally terminate the program, still the resources will be engaged with those GPIO pins. And if you try to run some other program, it will cause an error message saying that already this pin is in use by some other process like that. So such kind of errors can be avoided by putting that code in the try catch block, that is exception handling. And finally you have to clean up the GPIO pins once the program execution is over. So the same programs now we have seen, see you can see some 10 to 12 lines of code is there, but in another way also you can do it. We'll try to execute this on the Node-RED, how easy it is going to be. That is the motto behind why we have kept this Node-RED as one of the topic of this particular FDP. So it is totally uh, codeless, you can say. Mostly a little code you can use in your Node-RED programming. Whenever you require some functions, I think Sara has covered that, but still now also I will try to throw some light on that functions also. How to use our user-defined functions in the Node-RED. So like that, we'll see. See why I have demonstrated this LEDs means through program we can run this application, which I have just shown you. Another way is also there, where you can run this application using Node-RED. Now we'll go for the Node-RED program. So here, as I'm showing, the Raspberry Pi and breadboard, which are pinned with two LEDs, and that they are fixed because I'm not going to change the pin numbers because it consumes time to work for the setup. So for all programs, I'm using the pin number 18 as a common pin. Now, one is about LED on off. So here I'm taking two pins. Okay. So here I'm using two inject nodes. One is named as on, another is named as off. So here when I click on this on button, it will send one value, numeric value. Previously we have sent one string value, but this time I will be sending some numeric values, 1 or 0. 1 for on, 0 for off. So in the first inject button, I'm using 1 because to switch on the LED, and second one will be the off. That means when I press this inject button, off inject button, automatically this node, it will send a signal as 0. And here you can see by default the value of this inject node is number is 0. Only two values we can send, either 0 or 1. I'm not tested for 2, 3. We'll see that. So in the node description, you can see what properties have been changed. So here you can see values. Here I have used 1 as the value for that. On whenever that inject button is pressed, 1 will be sent as a payload to the next node. So the output of the first node inject button will be the input to the next node. Okay, I'm not doing anything. You can repeat this operation in the this repeat option. You can automate it some intervals, maybe every 10 seconds or 20 seconds like that. So I have given the label as on. So this is for the first node, inject node, and second inject node have specified as off, and the value will be set to 0. See, you can see in the payload. Nagaraju, audience, please mute yourself. Request.
Yeah, Nagaraju, P. Nagaraju.
Okay, thank you. So time in the second inject node, I'm using 0 as the value. So, and I have named the label as off, and I'm not selected any repeat for any intervals like that. So I have not made any modifications, so I'm canceling. If I click on done, again I have to use this deploy button. So as of now, I have not done anything. Now coming to the this node, Raspberry Pi node. See, you can see the GPIO pins layout here. Whatever the pins uh, yesterday I had shown, just now I'm showing you. At the right side, you can see all the GPIO pins. Same GPIO pins are available on this particular node. So all this. So whichever pin you are engaging, that should be selected. For example, you can see serial numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like that. Up to 40 you can see. I'm not using this layout. I'm using the pin numbers. For example, pin number 12 has been selected, but in the program, what I do is I write this 18 as the pin number. So that is called as the BCM layout. Broadcom layout. Otherwise, we can call it as Broadcom layout. You can follow any such rules. So in the program also you can see. In the second line, after import time, you can third line GPIO.set mode GPIO.BCM. This is one way of engaging the pins. Another one is GPIO.board. So these are the board numbers which you can see 1, 2, 3 up to 40 you can see like that. So some are numbered with some numbers specific task. Either way you can use. Now I have selected GPIO 18 and trying to engage that pin as a output to the LED and here they won't specify any ground like that. If you want, you can do it, but here we can select only one pin at a time. If I select, see for example, if I it is not allowing me ground, so ground should be taken care by the user itself. So in the layout, you can see so many GNDs. At the right side, you can see third one GND. Like that, some grounds are already there on this GPIO pins. You can use any other GND for the negative charge of the LED or any other device. Every device that is, it may be a sensor, it may be any other device, they will be having minimum of two terminals. One will be positive charge, another will be negative charge. And if you use some other sensors, they will be having three pins. One will be negative, one will be positive, another one will be data. Suppose if you want to use a temperature sensor, it will be having three terminals, plus, minus, another one is the data terminal. This data terminal will bring the data to the Raspberry Pi from the environment where this thermometer temperature sensor will be reading the data from the atmosphere like that. Now ground 18 has been selected and digital output. So there are analog or digital like that. So initialize pin state means it will show some value. Initially, see if I select this initial pin state, if I deselect it, it won't show anything. If I select this initialize pin state to 0, so you can set it to some 0 or some other values. If 1 means automatically it will be switched on. So 0 for off. So initially it will be off only. So I have given this as a name as LED. So So I have not changed anything. Simply I'm canceling that one. Now please focus on the video. So I'm clicking on this on button, inject button. Say a signal will be sent as 1. Okay, 1 second. Pin number 18. Decliner fundamentals. Please wait for a second. To restart all the flows because I'm trying to run 2 terminals at the same time. So the first terminal which have written one Python program, it is engaging those pins. That's why it is giving some message in the program that it is already used by some other flow. So I will restart the flows. I will exit this program terminal and I will restart the node. Yes, you can see this output. Uh, when I click this on inject button, it is sending some value as 1. You can see that some green color beside it. So that is the value of 1, which means it will switch on that LED. If I click this off button now, so it will be sending 0 as the value, which will the LED will be turn off like that. So this is one sample program how to use Raspberry Pi along with the Node-RED. So like that you can explore uh, many more such things. This is only a beginning. So we are also in the primary stage. We'll try to go for using what you call it as sensors and all these things using Node-RED. So here you can see only some predefined nodes already existing in the Node-RED. But if you search for latest node, you can find thousands of new nodes will be created because Node-RED is a open source and almost every node is available for each and every sensor. So for example, if you use a temperature sensor like DH sensor like that, DHT, some value will be there. If you want to use that sensor, then you have to use that particular node, which takes three values. That is power supply as 1 and negative charge as 0 and data. Three values will be uh, reviewed by the particular temperature node, and you can, if you want, you can store. If you want, you can store the data in a file system like that using this Node-RED. So now we are moving on to the next one, LED timer. So I made a little bit complex when compared to the previous nodes. So here again I'm using two nodes, two inject nodes. So I have labeled them as push to start and push to stop. These are the two nodes. So this time I'm using it as a timestamp. Simply when I click on that, it will initiate the execution. That much only it will do. Or you can set it to some timing also. Inject once after any number of seconds. Then if you want to repeat it, you can repeat it. Without human intervention, automatically the process will be automated. So for that you can use any of this. So anyone who want to learn Node-RED with Raspberry Pi, then this is the beginning programs, primary programs which everybody one must execute them. Then only we can go for complex. Here on the screen you are seeing only 5 or 6 such kind of nodes, but in reality the you can see some complex structure of nodes. Some 50 to 30, 60 nodes also will be collaborating each other. So now we'll see the function node. We have used one more node called as the function node. Yes. So this one we have used function node. This is a JavaScript function block. See, I'm not going to use JSON, or JSON is used as only a payload which carries the data to and fro between the nodes. And regarding functions, I think you are aware of JavaScripts. HTML and JavaScripts. That kind of function I'm going to write for this particular node called as uh, function nodes. Here I'm using two such function nodes. One is start blinking, another one is stop blinking. So here, once I click on this, you can see the code also like this. This is a user-defined function. I'm taking, so here to supply the value in milliseconds. So here I'm passing 1000 milliseconds equal to 1 second. So light is equal to some variable name. And here I'm using a blinker is equal to some function called as set interval. And I'm passing this blink. Blink is a function. You can pass function as a parameter to another function in JavaScript. So you can see blink here. next followed by blink delay. Blink delay is also this value 1000 is the value which you are passing to the blink delay, means 1 second, nothing but. Now finally you will get a return value that will be given to the variable called as the blinker. So here global dot set, what is this global means? So here I'm using more than one flow in this program. So you can see 5 or 6 nodes in the workspace. So this, once you specify this global, then remaining nodes also will become under the effect of this particular variable. So this method we are going to set as blinker. That means whatever the value we retrieve from that, that will be sent as a parameter, and we are also passing one parameter called as blinker. See, two parameters with same name. One is ordinary string, second one is the value which will be written in the 6th line. You can see blinker. So whenever you call a function, we have so many types of functions with parameters with return type. So this is belongs to with parameters and with return type, that we are again passing as two parameters. One is a string, another one is a value. So here the function definition for blink. So if light, then the message payload must be 1 and light is equal to false. Else means we'll be doing by default the value will be 0, it will be set to 1, and in the beginning only we have given light is equal to true. So when this method will bring some value, suppose if the LED is glowing, then it will be true. That means if light means it is a true. Then what we are trying to do, using the second inject button, we are trying to stop the total execution. So for that, light will be false, or else opposite work it will do. If it is off, then it should be on. So vice versa, two jobs will be done with this function. So node dot send message. So we are sending this message to the node, that is the function node. Start blink is the name of that node. So when some data comes from push to start, that is the inject node, first node, that value will be handled with the start blink. And finally, after execution of that function, finally it will bring some value 0 or 1. So like that, the LED will be switching on and off like that, but for some time. So when you click on this button called as push to stop button, that is the second inject button, automatically it will stop. It will send that message to the stop blink. So what stop blink will do is, it will just stop executing that message payload. Entire message payload will be 0. So here we are calling this interval clear interval. Global means in the previous node we have specified some global variable that will be called get blinker. So when you are calling this get blinker, that message payload will become 0. Entirely it will be set to 0. Then entire flow will be stopped. So finally this will return the message as 0 to the this particular node. Excuse me. Now, please have attention and focus on this video. I'm going to inject the push button, push to start. See, it is keep on blinking unless we click on this push to stop button. the same program which I shown you in the previous terminal, blinking program. Every 1 second, the program will be, uh, that means the LED will be on and off for particular time, maybe one second like that. So here, unless you become perfect with Raspberry Pi using all the GPIO pins, how to use them, how to connect to the next other devices like the LEDs. LED is also one of the sensor generally. So you can use LEDs for testing purpose, and after you can go ahead with the real-time sensors and so on. Of course, sensors also available with low cost, coming from available from 200 rupees to 2000 rupees like that. So you can start using those things once you are comfortable using the Node-RED and also this Raspberry Pi. So what I suggest is it is better to first learn the Python programming, then execute the Python programs. Later you can shift to the Node-RED. That will be the proper order. So directly going to the Node-RED may be little bit confusing because you must be aware of executing Raspberry Pi even without Node-RED. So Node-RED is a some what you call it as, it acts as a contribution as a development for the Raspberry Pi applications. So this is all about Node-RED. So I tried to develop one more application like this traffic lights, but it is on the way. It is not yet completed. Uh, uh, I tried for that one, but I was unable to do it right now. So here, the same timestamp. When we click on that, a delay timer time of 5 seconds will be sent to the each light. So here, pin 11, mother pin, and some other pin. 3 pins will be there. So these acts as a LED pins. So one will be red color, another one is going to be orange, another one will be green. Like that, we can use 3 LEDs and we can perform traffic light signal simulation like that using this kind of applications. So this is all about Node-RED, only basic programming, how to work with Node-RED and as well as Raspberry Pi. Some small experiments I have shown you. Maybe in the future we'll try to come along with some advanced programs using what we call it as using so many features like sensors and all that. So one more thing I want to say is that my Raspberry is a old version, Raspberry Pi 3. It is not supporting for installation of latest Node-RED. Because of that, some Raspberry Pi related nodes cannot be imported. And in the morning session, Sarah has shown you how to import flows and all that. I'm not going to execute the programs now, but I want to show you uh, some things like how to import the code onto the node. For example, somebody has designed some nodes, a flow, a sample program or a real-time program that will be readily available on the some of the websites. The thing is, you have to copy and paste into the uh, workspace of this particular node there. For example, see, I'm going to create one flow, for example. You can rename it with your own name. Now, what I'm trying to do is, I want to import one flow from some other site. So, as I said, I'm using a very old version of Node-RED, so I'm unable to get some latest things like that, latest examples. So here you can see some menu in that you can see import libraries and examples. For example, IBM Watson IoT like that. So simply if I click on that, you can get the flow loaded onto the work area like this without any programming or something like that. Automatically, you can bring a set of Node-RED which are already connected, ready to work with. But here we need to. I tried with this example, but it is not working because some things are missing with that one, and it is not stable. Also, automatically it is moving here and there, like and we have to deploy it, of course. But see, whenever you make any modification to any node within that flow, then the entire see all are connected with some wiring like that. So it is nothing but like a channel. It works like a channel. So once you connect all these nodes like this, the entire is called as a flow. That means collectively we call it as a flow instead of node rate like that. We call it as a flow. You can give your own name. Here we have some options. You can deploy all the flows which you can see on the palette. You can see laid on of hello world one like that. So if you select this full, all the flows will be deployed. Only modified flows also you can deploy, or only modified nodes only you can deploy. Like that, some options are there. And the last one is it will restart the current deployed flows. All the flows will be restarted like that. So, some options. Another one is, for example, if I want to import, you can use another method. So I will show you that. So flow2 is there. For example, I want to use the clipboard. So what this clipboard do is, suppose we had copied some JSON code related to some Node-RED project, and that entire file has to be brought to this particular area, and simply you click on to this current flow or new flow. So automatically they will be imported. I will try to demonstrate this thing. See, for example, Node-RED. Yes, there is one file called as Node-RED sample one. So Control A, select all, Control C, copy it, and bring it to the clipboard. So here you can copy. Control V. Can you see this? And just I'm clicking that as import. See, like this. And after bringing these nodes, what you have to do is you have to deploy it. So you can bring somebody's work to your workspace like this, and you can also export them or import them. So that facility we have. I don't know whether it will work or not. We'll try to see in the debug. See, it is showing the some Wednesday, November 10. Some is not showing the correct time. So we had to make some modifications to the timestamp. Okay. I think the flow one is executing actually, because it is also been written as because we have deployed all the flows in the workspace. So automatically this is executing. So yes, we are getting the output from this one only. And it is properly not configured. See, simply using the nodes, we don't get the outputs. We had to make some certain modifications to the existing one. So, okay, we'll leave it here itself. We are not gone up to that extent. But I accept the truth actually. So we want to introduce this Node-RED how to use with the Raspberry Pi. That is all about. So it's a flow-based, easy to use. It does not require much programming skills. Simply, if you are very well versed with JavaScript coding, you can go ahead with using the Node-RED. Sometimes we are required to use our own functions. Of course, predefined functions also available. But along with that, if you want to use your own functions, like the one which I have shown in the LED blinking on off, LED timer, LED timer. So in that one, it is a user-defined function like this. Sir, okay. This is all about Node-RED. If you have any questions, audience, please ask the questions. Yes, sir.
Hello. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. So exactly the question is, suppose once I'm creating a particular flow
Yeah,
on the browser, that is the localhost browser. So
okay.
it is showing that flow 1, flow 2, and dot dot dot. How many flows we are
Okay.
creating? Okay.
Yeah.
So suppose any one of the flow I would like to store to my local hard disk, right? So in that case, how I can store it to the hard disk? Actually, whenever I'm opening this particular local host to the port 180, it is always opening the previous all the flows in a tabs, different tabs. And now what I want to store any one of the tab, any one of the flow, and I would like to reopen it from my hard disk as well. That's my question.
Okay, okay, I understand. Okay. So the thing is that here you can see so many flows like this. What you want is you want to see only that specific one. So this actually, what you can do is you can export them and you can remove them from the existing tab. That is the option. You can store permanently on another file system, just the one I have shown like this. Suppose this is the code, JSON code, which is generated when you click on that particular node. You can copy and paste it and you can save somewhere. Whenever you want, you can retrieve them simply by importing. That is the option.
Yes, sir. That I have checked. Yes, but my question is, suppose in your window, as I can see, LED hyphen timer, one particular flow, LED hyphen on, hyphen off. So all these things are different flows, and these are treated as a different programs. Correct?
Yes, different programs.
Yes. Different applications. Let's say. Let's talk about different applications. Correct?
Yes.
So my question is, suppose in case of suppose when we open Google Chrome, and there we can reopen multiple tabs. Fine. So now it is convenient when I reopen this Google Chrome, it opens up a fresh Google service Google page, and then I can create different tabs and I can reopen it. Right. So my question is that I would like to remove LED-timer this tab from this workspace, right? And then once we reopen it once again, I would like to import it from the hard disk, just like normal another software it does, right? So please show me that things.
So actually, the thing is, I'm
flows
using the
there is a
version.
delete option is there. There is a delete option is there under flows, I think.
Yes,
We're
yes.
talking
It
about
will
that.
completely
Can you do
delete
that
that.
things once again?
No, yes. You can, what I said before that, you have to back up that one. See, here we have a clipboard like this, for example.
Hmm.
Yes.
That is for importing.
And yes. And import, wait.
I think we have to go for export. I think for that option.
Yeah. Export option,
Just
yes.
close it. Close the window. Cancel this window as well. The import
Yeah.
modes, cancel it, please.
Yes, yes.
Now go to that particular horizontal bars, right? Click on that.
Okay. This one, sir. This one.
Click on the horizontal bar. Yes, is that one. That one. Click on that. Now export.
Export
Yes,
to clipboard. Yeah.
clipboard. I think it will save as a JSON file. Yes,
Yes.
yes. Export to
Yes.
clipboards. I think you can download
Yes.
it. I think it has. You just
Yes.
click on download.
Yes.
I think actually I did, and but for exporting, export
Okay.
clipboard,
And download. Yes. Yes.
then
Download
download.
means it will
Then
save
it
on
will
a particular file.
JSON file. I think JSON file. Now save somewhere
Yes.
else on your
Yes.
machines. It will pop up.
Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
I think you are working on a Raspberry Pi. I think
Yes,
that's why
sir.
it took me
Yes.
so much of time. I don't know where it
Yes.
is
Yes.
saved. I think it should pop up on window to save this particular JSON file. Actually, I am also doing the same thing simultaneously on my own machines.
Oh, okay, sir.
And once I'm just importing it, it is asking for different options. That's why I'm little confused about.
Okay.
Okay, I can
See,
share my
what
screen
we
in
have to
that
do.
case.
Yes. See, here I am creating one flow one like this, for example.
Okay.
It is already there. Flow 2 is already there. I'm going to add one empty flow 3 like this. Now we have to go to the same options, import clipboard, and you have to open that file from where you have saved, sir. From which location you have saved. This will be showing Raspberry Pi, all the local file systems. So we don't know where it has saved actually properly. I didn't concentrate on that time. So like that, you have to select one file. For example, from desktop only you'll see.
Will it be saved under downloads? I think.
Yeah, yes. I'm going there. Yes, right.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Now
It
you
is
have
now
to
open.
use this import button. So automatically all that
Yes,
they
that
will
option
be
is
laid.
coming. What to do here right now?
Wait, it will show the layout, sir. They have to be visible on this actually. Okay, there. I will resolve this, sir. Soon I will come with
Okay.
the solution after some time. So let us
Okay,
give
sure.
some time to other audience. Okay. So any more questions from any other audience? Actually, once we use this import button, they have to be automatically laid onto this particular workspace where we have created this empty one. There they have to be placed actually. So I will go through it if there is any issue with that one. So in yesterday's session, sir, I was unable to show that cloud computing. Now I came up with a solution. Shall I close this session? If anybody have any doubt on Node-RED with the Raspberry Pi, you please may ask the question. We'll try to answer your queries.
Yeah. Participants, if you have any doubts related to Node-RED, you can ask Rajkumar sir. Otherwise, I will discuss IoT Cloud yesterday task is there. So Sir will explore that.
Sir, also I asked the similar question to the earlier session as well. Okay,
Yeah.
first session of today's, that how we
Session one, right, sir? Mutkunja.
Morning
Mutkunja sir,
morning
you
session.
asked,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Morning
yes,
session.
sorry, morning session, right? First
Yes,
session
yes,
today's.
yes.
So I asked that one question, that suppose where you are developing one application using these flow diagrams, and now I would like to make these particular applications automatically started during boot up of the machines. Let's say for Raspberry Pi cron job applications. So could you please show that the way how we can execute that things like startup program as well? It's
Yeah.
something like the Python. If it is a Python script, it would be a Python script. So we could just put inside the cron job, it will start running on, right?
Yes.
Suppose in Node-RED, in case of Node-RED, any flow application, how we can start, how we can make it start during the startup of the
Yes. It's a
system.
morning.
That's my question.
Yes. In the beginning of that, I have given some presentation and how to automate that work. During startup boot time only, Node-RED will be loaded. No need to, no need of user intervention. So I will show you that. See, this is running as a service. We call it as.
Yes, running as a service, right? Yes, sir. Please.
So here this one, sir. One second. I will show it to somewhere. It has. Yes, sir. This one. Sudo system control
System control.
enable node-red dot service.
Okay.
Super user permission. You have to execute this command and we have to
Last one
restart.
for disabling.
Yes, this is disabling for. See, once you give control to the system for at boot time, you cannot forcibly stop it using Control C. That is what I said in the some slides somewhere here. So here again, if you want to stop that service, again you have to type the same command like this. So instead of enabling, you have to use disable node-red dot service. Automatically the service will be disabled, and you have to go for normal execution simply by typing node-red at the prompt in the terminal.
Yes, sir. That I understood. But my question is more specific to a particular application. That's a, as you showed that there are flow one, flow two, labeling, something like that. Suppose
Yes,
out
yes.
of this 10, I would like to execute any one of the applications.
Understand. Sir. Sure. So I will resolve in the next session, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, any more questions from the audience? So yesterday there was a technical glitch because of which I was unable to show the actual power of the cloud computing. Here yesterday I demonstrated how to connect Raspberry Pi to any cloud. So there are so many cloud providers. As you know that I have chosen one UBI Dots as one of my service provider, and in that I have chosen industrial.ubi dots. Here the problem with industrial UBI dots is we'll have a only 1 month trial, that is enough for 1 or 2 days, and STEM is not working. Yesterday I tried with that. So you can see on the left side of the right side of the window, 29 days left on trial. So these are the three variables which are coming from my Raspberry Pi. One is temperature, another one is humidity, and some map, location of these devices. But here I'm not using any sensors actually. Just what I'm trying to do is I'm generating some random values for temperature as well as humidity and latitude and longitudes for this map. Using that, I'm going to show you the live telecast connection with the cloud. Test1.py. Yes, you can see the values are also changing in the my dashboard. So the values which are in the braces like 7 comma 34 45 comma 66, they are reflecting in the widgets. You can see this one. And location values also keep on changing, and map is also displaying according to the coordinates. So if I give any fixed coordinate, for example actual GPS, if I use actual GPS and if I send my data to this particular cloud, it will show the exact location where this particular node is working. For example, I have taken one sample example of my college location. Here, the one you can see is nothing but random values. Accordingly, it is showing different locations like this. But now, I modified the same application with a little bit changes. File name is Python UBI underscore test2 underscore wag dot py. Please focus on this map. It will be showing our Vagdevi College location where it is actually located. So you can see that Bullikunta, Singaram, some balloon has been installed there. So that is the pinpointed our location where we are executing all these devices. So I got this two values, that is latitude and longitude from same from Google. Simply if I type location of Vagdevi College of Engineering, Warangal means it has given these two parameters, fixed parameters, which I have used in the program. So accordingly, it will showing this location as a fixed location. Why this one is important is millions of devices will be working on a particular project. Say maybe a space project, or it is related to agriculture project, or if it is a meteorological project, say that is weather forecasting. So here simply taking 3 or 4 physical sensors and forecasting, weather forecasting is not possible. Actually, the data has to be captured from millions of devices, and these devices will be placed on different locations. Say, for example, on some day, a particular device may be not working, and it will stop sending values to the device. Maybe sensors, maybe there may be a problem with the sensor. So in order to identify which sensor is not working, then we can identify using this location. That is the purpose of this map especially. designed for these kind of IoT applications. So in agriculture also, some people may be having hundreds of acres in other countries, and this cultivation is done mostly with machines, and monitoring is done mostly with IoT devices, weather monitoring system. Along with that, they have uh, moisture sensors, what you call rain sensor, temperature sensor, humidity sensor. So these parameters, many such sensors will be placed here and there on the fields. So they collect the data, and they will be stored in a database, and each of these device will be kept here and there. So the sensor directly cannot send the data. So for that, we have to use some low cost devices like the Arduino Uno, which is available for 500 rupees like that. And we can make connection with the Raspberry Pi, and bring those values, and store them in the main Raspberry system. From Raspberry system, you can store or push onto the cloud like this, which I am showing now. And you can perform so many analytics also using that one. So you can generate, explore data. So this is the graph generated by the data which I uploaded since this time. Yesterday I started working at 7 o'clock. From that time onwards, I executed this, and the data has been uploaded. So this is the time, and the data which has been acquired. Right now it is 352 now. 1552 means 352 means we can also analyze the current data also. At a given time, what is the temperature? It is 21. It is showing like that. So I have given a delay time of 1 second. So large data sets are created. You can also export that data, and you can perform, see, like this, maximum temperature in that particular time. At what given time the temperature is high. Because I'm using only raw data, we are not performing any analytics on that. Or you can go for average. What is the average temperature which I collected from that? So like this, you can go ahead like this. This is the current data which is not analyzed right now. So new data is available. It is showing like this. So even researchers can use these UBI dots without any problem. Actually, I'm using industrial UBI dots. We can use STEM UBI dots. It is very user friendly. Anybody can connect it. Yesterday, I have done a mistake by in this credentials. What I have used is I have used the API key. Instead, I have to use tokens. Instead of using token, what I have done is I have kept this API key in my Python program and try to upload. There was a mismatch between the API key and my workspace in the UVA dots, and it is not allowing me to enter into the server. So this API key and token itself, they establish a security for the data in transmission, maybe or downloading or uploading like that. So this is all I want to show you. So if you have any questions, you may please ask on the any topic, cloud or node, right? If you have no questions, so we may stop this session. Over to coordinator, Dr. Krishna sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yes.
Participants, any queries? If you don't have any queries, we will end up the session. Any queries, participants? Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. You explained in clear way, that is IoT with cloud also. Yesterday we missed that concept. Today you cleared that one. Thank you very much, sir. And Node-RED installation, everything, how to create nodes, communication between the nodes, you explained very nicely. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Again, tomorrow also we have hands-on by you. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your
Oh, welcome.
valuable. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Sir, here one question is there in chat box. Did you clear, sir?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay. Okay, sir.
I'm recording
Thank you.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Sir.
Okay, okay. Sir, participants, tomorrow we have first session by Dr. J. Srikanth. That is on, no, that is Dr. Damodar Reddy from NIT Goa. Don't miss that session, domain specific IoT. Yeah, followed by IBM Watson introduction by SmartBits, Mrs. Tulasi. And afternoon we have hands-on session on Watson by Mr. P. Rajkumar sir. Don't miss that session. Okay. Attendance link is posted now. Just give the attendance, please, participants. Afternoon attendance. Thank you all. Thank you very much. We'll meet tomorrow once again. Thank you. Please fill the attendance form posted in group as well. In chat box also available. You can fill the attendance form. Thank you, sir. Rajkumar, sir. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Welcome. Sir.